Welcome back to another one. This time we're going to service the rear hub, so let's crack on. So here we are with a rear hub service. So with majority of standard cupping cone wheels, you want to remove the actual axle from the non-drive side, because at the end of the day you ain't going to get much room down there in terms of getting that inner cone inside there. So always non-drive side. So first thing you want to do is pop off the rubber seal. Now you don't want to go in too rough with this because you don't want to split it or damage it or anything like that. So we'll pull that off. That's in relatively good condition, bit of grime around there, but we can clean that up. That's not a problem. So on the inside of there you can see your cone, so you've got your 15mm and then your 17mm cone spanner just in there as well. So we don't need the C spanner just yet, but we do need the 15 and the 17. So we'll get the 15mm just on that inner side, and then your 17. Oh, actually, tell a lie, it looks like on this one we have actually got two 15s. So let's have a look if I've got another 15 lying around. Alright, so let's get that lined up on there and find the slot. There we go, and then loosen that off anti-clockwise. See, it's a bit grimy, so it is a bit sticky. And what we'll do is we'll lay them out. If you've ever taken a hub apart, you've got multiple washers, so we'll take them apart and leave them all in line. Oh, got a malfunction there with the camera. And then what we'll do is we will whip this one off. There we are. That don't look too bad. The bearing interface looks alright on that. And then, as you can see here, you've got your first row of bearings. So let's get those bearings out. Easiest way is just stick a magnet in. There we are. They all come out in one go. They look a bit grimy, a little bit mucky. So we'll stick all them there. That's the non-drive. Flip the wheel over. And then here comes your axle. Again, don't look too bad. Pop that down. Get them bearings out of that through body as well. Here we are. Quite grimy in there, so we'll have to give all of that a good clean out. So they are the. Just tilt that there a little bit. So here you can see we've got the drive side bearings. We'll take a closer look at them now. Let's have a look what these look like. So to be fair, they don't look too bad. So these are a standard 1/4 inch bearing, and they don't look too pitted. And you can have 9 either side. So just in comparison, so new one, that's a nice fresh new bearing, and that's the one we just gave a little clean. So as you can see, it's quite a visible difference there. If I can get it to focus. Yeah, well, there we go. But not to worry, because we can just look at those and see one's cleaner than the other. So I think, given the state of these, and we want these wheels to run the best possible way that they're going to run, is to basically just replace all of those bearings there for fresh ones. So simple. So chucked all the old bearings in a bag, so we don't need those. We have got drive, non-drive, non-drive, drive, both same bearings, same number count on both. Obviously that's for the free body. That is our axle that needs clean up, and then there are all of our parts. Just a quick wipe with a rag. Let's just have a look. So yeah, the condition of that is really nice, to be fair, given the age. Let's have a quick look at the axle. Yeah, that one looks relatively clean and nice. Obviously you've got your little rubber seal just on there as well, so we'll give all that a good clean up. So we'll give all this a good clean up and go from there. So the easiest way that I find is we will pull out the trusty, let me just wipe all that crap out of there. So we'll do that. Spray some degreaser on that. Bit of degreaser on that. And we'll leave that to soak for a second. We'll come back to that. And then now we'll move these up. We'll make sure these are all clean as well. So we'll all leave them in order as they came out. So what I'll do now is I will get all of this grit and grime in there, all cleaned out. So just a good old-fashioned rag. On this side I can get in there and give it a really good clean as well with that brush, just to make sure everything's clean and sparkly. And then on this side you want to make sure about sticking loads of kind of like degreaser or oaks. You don't want it to work down into that frail body, and same around there. So all of that just clean all by hand, and then same in there. Just, you can use obviously a brush to kind of get all that crap at the beginning. If you do find it easier, you can sometimes, if you're very careful, just pop that out there, and that will give you a better access to the inside of that hub, just so you can give that a really good clean. Obviously it also means then you can get grease in there as well and line up your bearings before you put that back in. So I will clean all of this up, and join me back in a second when all of this is clean, and then we will start putting the hub back together. See you in a minute. Right, so everything is now back clean and sparkling. Been all inside there, a really good scrub, and that actual bearing interface in there is lovely. Now if you flip over to the actual free body, you can see a little bit of corrosion on that free body interface. Now it doesn't sound too bad at all really, so we can go ahead and start putting this back together. So you're pretty much doing everything in the opposite of what you did to take it apart ultimately. So let's get some grease just in and around that bearing interface there. So I'll try and make this as viewable as possible. Fine with this, sometimes it's easier just with your hands. What I'm going to do is just put some around that inside, and this is all stuff you can pretty much do at home if you've got the right cone spanners. It's just simple. All you're doing is following the same procedure of taking it apart as putting it back together. And then what you want to do is get your brand new 1/4" bearings, pop them around like so. Don't worry if they're not absolutely perfect. When you push it all back together, it will push them bearings into the perfect place. So all we're doing now is just getting your 9 bearings in like that, and your grease should hold those bearings in so they don't fall out. So that's your 9 bearings in. Let's move that grease just around that ever so slightly. what I'll do is I'll just put a little bit of grease on top of them, and that grease will work itself all around once the wheel starts spinning. There we are. So to hold them bearings in, you want to put back your actual retainer, and obviously your seal will sit around that as well. So push that in, and so a lot of the time like that you can actually feel that click back into place to where it should sit. So then I can now turn over the wheel without them falling out or going anywhere whatsoever. And then on this side is I'm pretty much going to do the exact same. Just get that grease rubbed all the way around that inside. There we go. And what we can start doing is putting in the bearings for this side as well. So again, 9 bearings this side. There we are, looking lovely. All going in. Oh, I do like hub services. Obviously when you're not talking to a camera and you're just left to your own devices, you can pretty much do a hub service, I'd say, once you've been doing it for a while, in about 10 to 15 minutes. So all nice and simple stuff really with this. Get yourself some more grease. This nozzle on this grease does not want to play ball, so what I'll do is I'll squeeze some more on there, and I'll use my fingers, and all I'm going to do is just smear that a little bit more around there. There we go. I'm not worried about any grease that's on the outside or inside there anyway, because the rubber seal does cover that. You're not running disc brakes alright. So now you can see there we've cleaned all around that seal, so I'm just going to push some inside that seal there just to make sure. There we are. Alright, so we can put that in there. So also a good tip, also double check that your drive side lock nuts are already tight against each other, with probably about a 5mm gap on that side, because the last thing you want to do is put all that together and then realise that your non-drive lock nuts are a little bit loose, so you don't want that. So flip it over to drive, drop that down nicely, make sure that seal is sitting where it should be, and that is spinning nice. So we'll flick it back over, and then now it is a case of putting all of your little bits back on. So as we did with the drive side, I will grab a bit of grease and just rub it just gently just around that seal, just to stop any water getting in there. It's a little bit of an extra barrier, and then you can actually start screwing that all back on. And then you want to make sure that you're not cranking that tight. All you're doing with that is just a little bit hand tight, that's all. Just so it's tight but there's no room and it's free rolling. And then you want to put on your extra bits on that. So again, in the exact same order of which they came off. There we are. So that's all nipped up by hand, and that's relatively running nice. So now it's about getting the actual tension of the axle just right. So I'm going to grab your cone spanners. Obviously make sure they're actually sitting on the axles. So in this case I can just nip that up so it's not fully tight, and then what I just want to check is, before I do the final adjustment, is if there's any play in there, so you don't want any play whatsoever in any of that. If there is, what you can do is you can hold the drive side in there. Try and get this in so you can actually all see. It's a bit difficult in this camera angle. So I'm holding the drive side with that one, and then find the actual slot, and then what you can do is you can slightly see what I'm doing there is, because I'm holding the drive side and I know that's all tight, and angle that, you can see that the whole thing, the both cone and the lock nut, is turning together at the same time. And just a slight adjustment, make sure obviously there's no play, and then you can do your final adjustment. So, and this, if you are doing this for the first time, it will take a bit of to-ing and throwing, and then you want to nip that final lock nut up, and in doing that you should find that's generally going to run quite smooth. That, so that is all now locked up. I can tell there's no play in that whatsoever. Obviously always do the final check on the bike as well. And finally your actual final seal. So this one, as you can see, does have the nice Ritchey logo on the actual seal as well, which is quite nice. I have given that a whole clean up and it's relatively clean inside there, same as the inner part as well, no splits or cracks. So I'm gonna grab a bit of grease. I'm just gonna, throwing it all over the place. I'm just gonna run a little bit of grease and just a thin coat just around that inside, and just down in that seal there, just a thin coat, nothing too much. Wipe off all that surplus around there, a little bit just around there. I'll just keep that weather away, and then that should simply slide over and click into place like so. And then just want to make sure it's all pushed on and pushed into a line, because you might find a little bit like that riding up, and all that is the seal just not sitting right in. So there we go, bit of fiddling, there we are, look. So as it comes round, you can see now that the whole seal is sitting nice in there and everything's smooth. That feels a million times better compared to what it did. There was a little bit of play, and obviously give everything one last wipe off in terms of the actual hub service itself is done. So that's one wheel down. The front is so much easier. Again, just make sure you've got the right cone spanners. Front is usually like a 13 or 15 or a 15 and 17, and then that's quite simple. So there we are, that's all serviced, all done, all cleaned up. So that wheel just needs the braking surface cleaned off, cassette going on, brand new tyres, brand new tube, and then jobs are good. So join me on the next one where we'll start cracking on with that.